The cold wind howled through the dark forest. Snow fell gently, covering the ground like a soft white blanket. Deep in the woods, far from any town, a small wooden cabin stood quietly. Inside, a human man named Jared was drinking hot tea, sitting near the fireplace. He lived alone. He liked peace and quiet. After leaving the army, he didn't want to be near people anymore. But tonight, his quiet life was about to change. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Soft at first, then louder. Knock, knock, knock. Jared looked up. No one ever came here. He grabbed his coat and walked to the door. When he opened it, his eyes widened in shock. Standing outside was a small alien girl. Her skin was pale blue. Her large purple eyes were filled with tears. She looked weak, cold, and scared. "Please," she said in a trembling voice. "Please marry my father." Jared blinked. "What?" She took a shaky step forward and almost fell. Jared quickly caught her. "Please," she whispered again. "He's all I have left." Jared pulled her inside. She was freezing. He wrapped a blanket around her and sat her near the fire. "What's your name?" Jared asked gently. "Luma," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "And your father? Where is he?" "He's in the forest. He's hurt. He won't come here. He hates humans. But you're the only one who can help." Jared's face grew serious. "Why did you ask me to marry him?" Luma looked up, her eyes shining with sadness. "Because he's dying. And I don't want to be alone." Jared didn't know what to say. This child, this alien child, was asking him something so strange, so heavy, but she looked so broken, so desperate. His heart ached. "How long have you two been out there?" he asked. 3 days, she said. "Our ship crashed. My mother she's gone." Her lips quivered and she looked away. "I'm sorry," Jared said softly. Luma took a deep breath. "At that. My father is strong. He's a warrior. But after my mother died, he stopped talking. He just stares at the sky. He doesn't eat much. He says there's nothing left." "And why me?" Jared asked. "Why come here?" "Because," she said slowly, "my mother once said, if anything happened, I should find a kind human. She said there is still hope between our kinds. I remembered your cabin from the maps." Jared sat back, surprised. How did they know about him? He had been a soldier during the Terran-Zalari War 5 years ago. Maybe her parents were part of the peace talks? He couldn't remember. There had been too much blood, too much pain. "You said your father is injured?" Jared asked. She nodded. "His leg is bleeding. He won't let me help. He thinks humans will kill him." Jared sighed. He didn't want to get involved, but he couldn't just let them die, not after what the child said. "Okay," he said finally. "Take me to him." Luma's eyes lit up. "Really? But I'm not marrying anyone," Jared added quickly. "Let's just get him help first." She smiled a little for the first time. Jared put on his thick coat, grabbed a medkit, and followed Luma into the snowy forest. The wind bit at his skin. The trees creaked in the cold. They walked for almost 20 minutes before Luma pointed to a broken ship half covered in snow. Inside, lying against a wall, was a tall alien man with gray-blue skin and sharp features. He looked like a warrior, even in pain. His leg was wrapped in dirty cloth, and blood had soaked through it. Zariah opened his eyes as they entered. When he saw Jared, he growled. "Stay back, human," he warned. "I'm not here to fight," Jared said calmly. "Your daughter brought me." Zariah looked at Luma, who stepped forward. "Father, please," she said. "He wants to help." Zariah turned his head. "We don't need help from a Terran." Jared stayed calm. "You're Terran. He's bleeding. That wound will get worse. Let me look at it." Zariah said nothing, but he didn't stop Jared either. As Jared knelt and opened the medkit, Luma watched with hope in her eyes. Maybe this human was the answer her mother had believed in. Maybe, just maybe, they still had a chance. The sky turned dark gray as heavy clouds covered the stars. The cold wind grew stronger, making the snow swirl like ghosts dancing in the air. Jared walked behind the little alien girl, Luma, deeper into the forest. Her small feet left light tracks in the snow. She held a soft glow stick to light the way. Jared followed in silence, his boots crunching over the frozen ground. He had many questions. Why did this child trust him? Why had her mother told her to find him, a man who once fought against her kind? The last time Jared had seen a Zalari warrior, it was during a war, not a rescue. But tonight, That line between enemy and friend was starting to blur. Finally, Luma stopped and pointed. "There," she whispered. In the shadows stood a broken, half-crashed alien ship. Its silver hull was cracked and parts were scattered in the snow. Sparks still blinked faintly from damaged panels. One side had caved in like something large had hit it. Inside, it was quiet. Too quiet. Jared stepped in and saw the figure. The alien man, Zariah, sat with his back against the wall, holding a broken metal rod like a weapon. His body was larger than Jared's, covered in scars. His face was sharp and stern. He looked like a soldier who had fought 1,000 battles. But now he looked tired, broken. Zariah's eyes narrowed when he saw Jared. "You again," he said in a deep voice. "I told you to stay away." Jared didn't answer right away. He crouched near the wall and placed the medkit down. "I didn't come here for a fight," Jared said calmly. "Your daughter risked her life to find help. If you want to die in this wreck, fine, but she doesn't deserve that." Zariah stared at Luma. The little girl stood silently behind Jared, hugging her arms around herself. "I didn't ask for help," Zariah said. "You didn't have to," Jared replied. "She did." There was silence. Only the wind outside howled. Then Zariah slowly shifted his leg. Jared saw the blood. The old bandage was soaked red. The smell of infection hung in the air. "Let me treat that," Jared said. "No." "Why not?" Zariah's voice was low. "Because you are Terran. I remember what your people did. You burned villages. You dropped bombs on our cities. My wife, she believed in peace. Now she's dead. Killed by humans." Jared said nothing for a moment. The memories hit him too, orders he followed, faces he couldn't forget. He looked up, his voice steady. "I'm sorry for what happened to your wife," he said. "War took too much from all of us. But your daughter is still here. You are still here. Don't let the past kill your future." Zariah's grip on the rod loosened. Luma stepped forward, eyes shining. "Please, Father, if you die, I'll be alone. I'm scared." The warrior closed his eyes. Pain, far deeper than the wound, crossed his face. Finally, he let out a breath. "Do it." Jared moved quickly. He cleaned the wound, applied medicine, and wrapped it in clean bandages. Zariah flinched once but stayed silent. His skin was cold, his muscles stiff. He had been sitting in the same position for too long. "This will help," Jared said. "But you need warmth. You can't stay here." "I'm not stepping into a human's house," Zariah said sharply. "You don't have to," Jared replied. "Just don't die here." Luma looked at both of them. Then she spoke softly. "What if we just pretend he's my husband? Like I said before, no one will hurt him if they think he's bonded to a human." Zariah's eyes opened wide. "What?" "She's just a kid," Jared said quickly. "It was her idea to protect you." Zariah turned to his daughter. "You lied?" "I was scared," she said. "And I didn't lie. I just hoped it would work." Zariah shook his head slowly. "Your mother would have laughed at this." "No," Luma whispered. "She would have smiled." For a moment, something softened in the warrior's eyes. Jared stood up and looked around. "You can't stay in this ship. It's falling apart. And those hunters, they might come back." "Hunters?" Zariah asked. Jared nodded. "I saw signs around the cabin, tracks, movement in the trees. Someone's looking for you." Zariah's eyes narrowed again. "They're not just hunters. They're Zalarian forcers. They don't accept that I left the war. They think I'm a traitor." "And they'll kill you?" Jared asked. "They'll kill all of us," Zariah replied. Luma looked up at Jared, hope and fear mixing in her eyes. "Will you help us stay alive?" she asked. Jared took a breath. His life was quiet before this, peaceful. But maybe peace wasn't just silence. Maybe it was choosing to protect something worth saving. He nodded. "Let's go home." As they left the broken ship behind, snow continued to fall, covering their tracks. But hidden eyes in the dark watched them, and the danger was far from over. The snowstorm grew stronger as they walked back to the cabin. The wind pushed against them and the trees groaned in the cold. Jared helped Zariah walk, his arm wrapped around the injured alien warrior's shoulders. Luma followed closely, holding onto her father's coat tightly. The old wooden cabin finally came into view, quiet, small, but safe. Inside, the warmth of the fireplace greeted them. Zariah winced as he sat on the couch while Jared boiled water and made tea. Luma placed her father's broken armor near the door. She sat beside him, eyes wide with worry. "Thank you," she whispered to Jared. He gave her a nod, but didn't speak. His mind was heavy. Something didn't feel right. Not about Zariah, not about the crash, and not about the people who might be looking for them. Jared poured hot tea for Zariah. The alien took it without a word. The fire cracked softly, and for a while they just listened to the wind howling outside. After some time, Luma fell asleep in the corner, curled under a thick blanket. Her face was calm now, no longer full of fear. Zariah watched her for a long moment. "She doesn't deserve this life," he said quietly. "No child does," Jared replied. Zariah looked into the fire. "My wife wanted peace. She believed we could live with humans. She believed too much. It cost her life." Jared sat down across from him. "And what do you believe?" Zariah didn't answer. His sharp eyes met Jared's. "You were a soldier, weren't you?" Jared's jaw tightened. "I was." "Then you understand. We follow orders, we fight, and we lose pieces of ourselves." Jared stared into the fire, remembering his past, the screams, the smoke, the empty fields after battles. He didn't answer. Zariah leaned back slowly. "I know who you are, Jared." Jared looked up quickly. "What do you mean?" "You were there," Zariah said. "On Kren 5, the final outpost before the treaty. You were the one who refused to fire on the retreating Zalari ship." Jared froze. "How do you know that?" Zariah reached into his torn jacket and pulled out a small crystal, a memory shard. He held it gently. "My wife recorded that moment. She showed it to Luma when she was still small. She believed that if one human could choose mercy, others could too." Jared felt a lump in his throat. He remembered that day clearly. He had been ordered to shoot the fleeing alien ship, but something inside him refused. He let it go. "I didn't know anyone saw," Jared whispered. "She did," Zariah said. "And because of that, she believed in peace, even when others called her a fool." Jared's heart sank. "And now she's gone." Zariah nodded slowly. "Killed during a raid by a rogue human squad, not part of your army, mercenaries, no flags, no mercy." Jared looked down, his fists clenched. "I'm sorry," he said again, but it felt empty. Zariah's eyes narrowed. "I don't need your sorry. I just want my daughter safe." They sat in silence again. Then something outside moved. Snap. A branch broke. Jared stood up quickly and moved to the window. Nothing. Just snow and trees. But then he saw it. A faint red light blinking between the trees. His voice dropped. "We're being watched." Zariah stood up despite the pain. He limped to the window and narrowed his eyes. "That's a tracker," he said. "They found us." Jared turned to him. "How?" Zariah looked at Luma, who was still sleeping. "I turned off our ship's beacon, but maybe not fast enough." Jared grabbed his rifle from the wall. "We need to prepare." "No," Zariah said. "They won't attack tonight. They're watching, waiting." "For what?" "For weakness." Jared locked the door and pulled down the shades. His peaceful life was now in flames. As he moved to check the back window, he stepped on something, an old photo frame. He picked it up. Inside was a photo of him, years ago, in uniform. And beside him, a female soldier, a friend, a love long lost. Her name was Mira, a spy, once sent to live among the Zalari. She never returned. His heart ached. Could Luma's mother have been? He stared at the picture. The resemblance, the eyes. No, but the thought wouldn't leave his mind. Jared placed the photo down slowly. Zariah watched him carefully. "You're thinking something," the alien said. Jared looked at him. "Did your wife ever live among humans?" Zariah raised an eyebrow. "She knew your language well. She knew human ways. Why?" Jared didn't answer. The secrets between the snow were growing deeper. Something connected all of them. Him, the warrior, the child. And soon, those secrets would come out, whether they were ready or not. The fire inside the cabin burned low as night settled deeper across the snowy land. Jared sat near the window, rifle in hand, eyes locked on the dark woods beyond. Snow kept falling, silent but steady. Somewhere out there, they were waiting. Zariah paced slowly, his limp. Worse now, but he refused to rest. The alien warrior checked the cabin's corners, inspecting every wall, every door. His body was weak, but his mind was sharp. Years of war had trained him to prepare for every possible danger. Luma sat on the couch, hugging her knees, watching them both. "We should leave," Zariah said, voice tense. "They'll attack soon." "We can't," Jared replied. There's no transport, no backup. The snowstorm hasn't stopped in hours. If we leave now, we freeze. Zariah's fists clenched. Then we wait to die? No, Jared said. We wait to survive. Suddenly, boom! A sound echoed from the forest. Not thunder, an explosion. Trees shook. The ground rumbled. Jared ran to the window. Flames flickered in the distance. Smoke rose into the sky. They're flushing us out, he said, burning the forest to trap us. Zariah's face hardened. Cowards. Luma trembled. They're coming, aren't they? Jared turned to her and nodded slowly. Yes, and they're not just hunters. These are professionals. Zariah looked at Jared. If they find us, they'll kill you too. Then we make sure they don't find us alive, Jared replied. No, Luma said suddenly. Her voice was strong and loud. They won't kill us, not if they think we are bonded. Both men turned to look at her. What? Jared asked. Luma stood up. Remember what I said about you marrying my father? That wasn't a child's idea. That was protection. There's a law, Zalari law. If a warrior is bonded to a Terran civilian under peace code, he cannot be harmed. It's a sacred rule. Zariah's eyes widened. That law was only used during Alliance missions. No one follows it anymore. Luma stared at him. Then let them be the first to break it. Jared raised an eyebrow. You're saying, if they believe we're married, they might back off? Zariah looked unsure. Only if they still hold honor. If they don't, we'll be executed as traitors and spies. Jared looked at Luma. She stood tall, even as fear shook in her hands. He glanced at Zariah. This is your daughter's idea, but if we do this, we do it right. What do you mean? Zariah asked. I mean we make it look real. Zariah scoffed. You want to hold a wedding in the middle of a war zone? No, Jared said. Just a broadcast, a signal, something they can see. If we make it public, they'll hesitate. I still don't like it, Zariah muttered. But you'll do it, Luma said, because you always told me a warrior's greatest strength is not pride. It's protecting others. Zariah looked at her in silence. His shoulders dropped. Then he nodded once. Jared moved to the radio panel near the fireplace. It was old but functional. He switched on the external signal. The cabin had a low-range beacon, enough to send a short message across nearby frequencies. He pointed a camera at himself and Zariah. Ready? He asked. Zariah looked straight at the lens. Let's make history. Jared spoke into the mic. This is Jared Faulkner, human civilian. I announce my peace bond with Zariah of the Zalari. Under Alliance Law Code 13, Section 9, he is under human protection as my bonded partner. Any attack will be considered a break of treaty law. Zariah added in his own tongue, let it be known. I accept this bond. Let any who break it answer to their own laws. They ended the broadcast and shut off the signal. The room went silent again. Jared exhaled. It's done. Zariah gave him a serious look. You realize what you just did? You broke ties with your own people. Jared shrugged. My people stopped checking on me years ago. They both shared a look, no longer enemies, maybe not yet friends, but something new forming between them. Suddenly, footsteps. Crunching snow. Outside, Jared raised his rifle. 3 figures in dark armor stepped from the trees. Their suits glowed with red symbols, Zalari enforcers. They stopped 10 feet from the cabin door. Ared opened the front window hatch and pointed the rifle. One of them raised a device. The recorded message Jared had sent played back through a translator. They had heard everything. Then, to Jared's surprise, they bowed. Bond accepted, said the leader. We will confirm with the elders. If the claim is false, all 3 of you will die. Jared said nothing. The enforcers turned and disappeared into the trees. Zariah closed the window. Luma ran to them. Did it work? For now, Jared said, but they'll be back. Zariah nodded. Then we have time to prepare. They looked at each other, 3 strangers, now bound by law, danger, and a thin thread of trust. Morning came slowly. Sunlight touched the snowy trees outside the cabin, but the warmth did not reach inside. The fire had died during the night. Only soft ash glowed in the stone hearth. Jared stood by the window, tired eyes watching the forest. The Zalarian forcers had not returned yet, but he could feel them close, like wolves waiting outside the circle of firelight. Behind him, Zariah sat silently at the table. His bandaged leg rested on a chair. Luma stirred a small pot of soup over the fire, her small hands moving carefully. No one spoke much that morning. The memory of what they did the night before, the broadcast, the bond, the risk, still hung heavy in the air. Finally, Zariah broke the silence. "You risked your life," he said. "Why?" Jared didn't turn around. "Because your daughter asked me to." Zariah's eyes narrowed. "That's not the real reason." Jared sighed. "Maybe it's because I was tired of watching good people suffer while everyone else turns away. Or maybe..." He paused. "Maybe I saw something in you that reminded me who I used to be." Zariah leaned back. "You talk like a soldier who lost more than a war." "I did," Jared said softly. Luma brought 2 bowls of soup and placed them in front of her father and Jared. "You both need strength," she said. "You have to work together now." Zariah looked at her. "You speak like a warrior," she smiled. "You always told me to be brave." As they ate in silence, Jared noticed something strange. Luma wore a small necklace around her neck, an old pendant with a cracked red crystal. He'd seen that design before. On the battlefield, it had belonged to a woman named Mira, a human intelligence officer who vanished during a peace mission. Everyone believed she had been killed. He stared at the necklace. "Where did your mother get that?" he asked. Luma looked down at it. She said it was a gift from someone important, someone she once trusted. Jared's heart pounded. Could it be? Zariah noticed Jared's eyes. "You knew her, didn't you?" Zariah asked quietly. Jared hesitated. I think she was someone I served with. Her name was Mira. She vanished during a secret mission years ago." Zariah looked down, his face darkening. "She didn't vanish," he said. "She left." "What do you mean?" "She left your army. She defected. She chose to stay with the Zalari to stop the war, not feed it." Jared was stunned. "That's not what we were told. We were told she was captured." "She wasn't," Zariah said firmly. "She came willingly. She became my mate. She gave us Luma." Luma's eyes widened. "She never told me that part." Zariah nodded. "She wanted to keep you safe. If anyone knew the truth, you'd be hunted by both sides." Jared leaned against the wall, breathing heavily. "Then that means Luma is part human." Zariah looked at his daughter with a kind of sadness in his eyes. "Yes, and that's why she has no home." Luma whispered, "But now, we have you, Jared." He looked at her. The little girl who had begged him for help, the warrior who once hated his kind, the woman he once loved, now gone, but still living through her daughter. Something inside him shifted. The fake bond didn't feel fake anymore. Before he could speak, a loud noise came from outside. Boom! Then a voice echoed through a loudspeaker. "This is Enforcer Talek of the Zalari Justice Circle. Step outside. We require proof of your claim. Refusal will be taken as treason." Jared and Zariah exchanged a look. "It's time," Zariah said, standing slowly. Luma held Jared's hand. "Don't let them take him. Please." "I won't," Jared promised. He opened the door slowly. 3 enforcers stood outside in black armor, weapons at their sides. Talek stepped forward. "You have made a legal broadcast of bonding. Present evidence." Jared stepped out beside Zariah. He reached for Zariah's hand and held it. The enforcers watched. "This isn't just a message," Jared said clearly. "This is real. I may not be Zalari, but I stand by my word. I will protect this man and his daughter, and I claim them as my family." Talek's helmet turned slightly. "Why?" "Because the war is over," Jared said, "and I'm tired of pretending I have nothing left to fight for." Zariah added, "He speaks the truth. I accept this bond." Talek was quiet for a long moment, then he slowly lowered his weapon. "Verification accepted for now, but others may challenge this. You will be watched." The enforcers turned and walked back into the woods. Jared closed the cabin door, heart pounding. Zariah looked at him. "You didn't have to say that." "I wanted to," Jared said. "And for the first time since the war." He smiled. The snow had stopped falling. The world outside the cabin was quiet again, but it was a heavy silence, like the pause before a storm. Inside, the fire burned steady, but the people around it were uneasy. Jared sharpened his old combat knife, his mind full of thoughts. Something didn't feel right. The enforcers had accepted the bond too easily. No threats, no tests, no deeper questioning, just a warning. You will be watched. He had seen many tricks in his life. This felt like one. Zariah sat nearby, helping Luma repair her small communication toy, a gift from her mother long ago. But his sharp alien eyes watched Jared just as carefully. "You're thinking again," Zariah said. "I always think when something smells wrong," Jared replied. Zariah chuckled. "You trust your nose? I trust patterns, and this one's off." Luma looked up. "You think they'll come back?" "They never left," Jared muttered. That night, after dinner, Jared stepped outside for firewood. The snow crunched under his boots. The moon hung low, casting long shadows. But something moved between the trees. A figure, fast. Too fast. Jared dropped the wood and raised his rifle. "Show yourself!" Silence. He stepped forward, and suddenly a blaster fired. Pew! The shot missed his head by inches. Jared rolled behind a tree and aimed his rifle. Then he heard it. A voice. Familiar. Too familiar. "Drop the weapon, Jared. We just want the alien." Jared's heart froze. The voice wasn't Zalari. It was Terran. Human. A shadow stepped out, wearing white winter armor. The Terran Republic symbol on his chest plate was clear, even in moonlight. More soldiers appeared behind him, 4, maybe 5. Jared stood slowly. "You're not supposed to be here." The lead soldier took off his helmet. It was Captain Ross, Jared's former squad leader. "Orders changed," Ross said coldly. "Command wants the alien, the girl too, if she's part of it." "She's a child," Jared growled. "She's a weapon," Ross replied. "Half Zalari, half human. Do you know what that means? She's proof the enemy used spies during the war." Jared raised his weapon. "You're going to kill a child to hide the truth?" Ross nodded. "Yes. For peace." Bang! A warning shot fired at Jared's feet. Ross stepped forward. "Don't make me shoot you, Jared. Step aside, let us take them." But Jared didn't move. Back inside the cabin, Luma felt it. She stood by the window, watching the tree line. "Something's wrong," she whispered. Zariah stood quickly and looked through the window. "Get down!" Gunfire broke the silence. Bang! Bang! Jared ducked and fired back. He hit one soldier's leg. Another bullet scratched his arm. Zariah burst out the door, grabbed Jared, and pulled him behind the cabin wall. "You weren't wrong," Zariah growled. "It's a trap. They're Terran soldiers. My old unit." Zariah's eyes darkened. "So your people sent you to help, and now they send killers to clean it up." "No," Jared said. "They didn't send me. I left. They never knew I'd protect you." Zariah looked at him. "Then we fight together." Inside, Luma pressed her hand to a panel on her toy communicator. "Code red," she whispered. "Send to Mother's link. If anyone hears me." The toy blinked once. Outside, the soldiers advanced. One tossed a smoke grenade toward the cabin. Boom! White smoke filled the air. Jared and Zariah moved fast, covering windows, locking doors. "We can't hold them off forever," Jared said. "They have better weapons." "We have better reasons," Zariah replied. Suddenly, one of the front windows shattered. A soldier burst in. Zariah tackled him to the ground, grabbed his own broken staff from the wall, and struck hard. Crack! The soldier was out cold. Another climbed in through the back. Luma screamed. Jared shot him in the leg, then slammed him with the rifle butt. Breathing hard, Jared looked at the terrified child. "Get under the floorboards, now!" She nodded and crawled into the hidden space below the cabin. Zariah limped to Jared's side. "If we fall, they'll find her." "Then we don't fall," Jared said. Outside, Ross shouted, "Final warning! Give up the alien or we burn the cabin!" Jared stepped outside, both hands up. His rifle hung on his back. "I trusted you once, Ross. We fought together. Don't do this." Ross aimed his blaster. "I gave you a chance. You made your choice." Before he could fire, a loud voice echoed from above. "Stand down." A new ship appeared, Zalari but with Alliance markings. From the ship, a woman stepped out in silver armor. Her voice was firm. "This family is under Alliance protection. Any action against them is a violation of peace law." Ross hesitated. His soldiers looked unsure. The woman walked past him. She stopped beside Jared and whispered, "Luma's message reached us. I served with Mira. I knew this day would come. Jared looked at her, eyes wide. Zariah stepped forward, shocked. You knew Mira? She nodded. And I'll protect her daughter now. Even if humans forget their honor, we won't. Ross lowered his weapon slowly. The Terran soldiers backed away. Jared let out a deep breath. Luma peeked from the floorboards, her eyes full of hope. For now, they were safe. But Jared knew peace was never free. The sky above the cabin turned golden as the sun rose, breaking through gray clouds. The snow-covered trees glowed in the light. It was quiet again. Too quiet. Inside the cabin, the fire had gone out, but warmth still lingered. Not from the flames, but from what they had all survived together. Jared sat on the front steps, his arm wrapped in a bandage. His eyes stared at the forest where the soldiers had vanished hours ago. His body was tired, but his mind couldn't rest. Behind him, Zariah stepped out of the cabin slowly. He still limped, but his steps were stronger than before. They won't stop, Jared said, without looking. No, Zariah agreed, but we will keep moving. A soft voice came from behind them. Do we have to leave? It was Luma. She stood in the doorway, clutching her toy communicator. Her eyes looked older now, like someone who had seen too much for her age. Jared smiled gently. Yes, it's time. The silver-armored Zilari commander, Captain Velra, waited beside her ship at the edge of the forest. Her ship was small but fast, marked with Alliance colors. It could take them far from Earth, far from danger. Captain Velra walked over. We've wiped the local sensors. No one will track you. But staying here is no longer safe. Zariah looked at his daughter, then at Jared. We can't go back to the old world, Zariah said. And we can't live in hiding forever. Jared nodded. So we go forward. Captain Velra placed a small metal card in Jared's hand. Coordinates. There's a neutral colony on the edge of Terran space. Mixed species, peaceful, private. No war, no flags. Luma's eyes lit up. A new home? Jared looked at her. Yes, a real one. They began packing what little they had. Blankets, dried food, medicine. Zariah took his wife's pendant from the cabin wall and hung it around Luma's neck. She'll guide you, he said softly. Before leaving, Jared stood one last time in the cabin. He looked around at the place he had called home. Quiet, lonely, and cold, but no longer empty. This cabin had changed everything. It was where an alien girl knocked on his door, where he heard the words, "Please marry my father," and where he discovered that family isn't always made by blood, but by choice. Luma came beside him and held his hand. Do I call you Papa now? She asked with a shy smile. Jared chuckled. If you want to. I want to, she said. Tears touched Jared's eyes, but he hid them with a smile. Outside, the ship powered up. Snow blew in a circle as the engines roared to life. Captain Velra waited by the ramp. Zariah turned to Jared. You could stay. No one would blame you. Jared shook his head. I already stayed behind once. Not this time. Together, they walked up the ramp. Inside the ship, the lights were soft and warm. The seats were small but comfortable. The stars above waited. As the ship lifted off, Luma pressed her face to the window. The cabin below became smaller and smaller, until it was just a tiny dot in the white forest. Zariah sat beside his daughter, placing an arm around her. Oren sat across from them, watching, unsure of what to say. But Luma broke the silence. I used to dream of stars, she said, but I never thought I'd reach them with a family. Zariah looked at her, his voice soft. Your mother would be proud. She is proud, Jared added. She lives in you. Captain Velra spoke from the front. Course set, preparing for jump. The ship trembled slightly as it entered the warp lane. Lights stretched into ribbons outside the windows. They were leaving Earth behind, for good. Jared leaned back, his heart strangely calm. No more war, no more walls, just space, and something else he thought he had lost forever. Purpose. Luma took both her father's and Jared's hands. We're a real family now, she said. Zariah smiled, his warrior face softer than ever. Yes, we are. And Jared, the man who once chose a life of silence and snow, found himself saying words he never expected. Wherever we land, I'll protect you both. That's a promise. They flew through the stars, 3 lives woven together by loss, by courage, and by love. And somewhere in the stars ahead, a new beginning waited.